want to do a welcome back. So.
Oh yeah, I love welcoming back.
Okay.
Yo, what's poppin'? No. Hey guys, welcome back. It's George here.
And I'm Siren Valentino. Welcome to Studio 20. Today we're going to talk about writer's block.
Yo, writer's block. The bane of my existence. Always.
Yeah, you're a poet, so you must run into this problem pretty often.
Yeah, I'd say for like, anywhere from a day to weeks at a time. It kind of just hits you. It's like a wall that you can't really get over, and there's no one thing works for like everything kind of remedy to get rid of it.
I feel like sometimes I have the opposite of writer's block, and instead of getting stuck where I can't write one thing, I'm like writing one thing and then I'm inspired to write something else, so I start going off on that branch, and it almost blocks out one idea and then starts a whole separate branch. That's where I have trouble with some of that. But what's one of the ways that you deal with writer's block?
Well, personally, I think like music is a really good way to, kind of get your mind going, listening to other people's perspective on just anything. I mean, music is poetry, music is writing, it's a good way to look at it if you like listening to music. Listen to your favorite artist or something. That's one thing that I do every single day, so it definitely helps me.
I feel like that's a really good point to bring up because music has different vibes to it. There's the different, like, if you want to listen to something that's more of like, they're going to war, or like, oh, someone just got reunited with a loved one. You can, like, listen to all the different styles of music, too. Like, you don't even have to listen to songs that you just know, anyways, like the things you have in your playlist, you can go and I look up soundtracks. Like I look up, oh, let's see, I'm thinking about writing about something with a swamp.
Yeah,
okay, let's think of swamp music. Yeah, mood music.
So yeah,
definitely.
You can also set a mood for it,
Mood music.
You get to feel what could be inspiring for you.
That's a good one. That is a really good one. I like to use the, one of the ones I like to use is the what happens next, where if you're writing and you sit there, it's almost like if you were reading the story, if you're writing a story or a song or what, like, I guess it mostly works with a story, but you can sit there and be like, okay, so Johnny ate an apple, what's gonna happen to Johnny next, and you can think of something super predictable, like, okay, then Johnny went home, he had a stroll down the lane.
Oh, yeah, right down that lane.
Right down that lane, I don't
Johnny
know.
do be strolling.
Be strolling. But, or you can think of something, like, really crazy, like, he ate an apple and there was a worm and then he became a superhero or something, it's like you don't have to, it kind of shows you where you can take chances in your story, almost like plot twists, rather than doing something predictable, but that one kind of helps me just keep going, because I feel like anyone can do that when they're watching a show. You watch a show and you get to the end and so many people are like, oh, I wanted more. And it's like, well, what did you expect? What's going to happen next? What were you looking for? I don't know. That's one of the ones that I use.
Besides music, I think doing things that you wouldn't normally do, like getting outside not only your comfort zone, but just trying new things will definitely help with writer's block. I can't tell like anybody to not try this, because I've done it so many times. Like there's been times where I'm like weeks, just nothing. I can't get anything out. I try to force it. I look at it. I throw it away. And I'll just be like, oh, there's no way I'm going to do this. So I'll take even longer of a break, and then I'll just do something that's out of the norm. And I'll just be like, wait a minute, and kind of just get an idea and kind of fill in blanks as I go.
No, that makes sense. I feel like it's easy to pull inspiration when you go out and try different things. It can be hard to come up with things to try. So what I try to think of people that I haven't seen in a while, and or even new people that I recently met, and be like, whoa, I'll go try something with them, go hang out with them, see what they want to do, and maybe you'll do something different. Like a lot of people up in this area go and they do disc golf. And that's,
yes, they do. Yes, they do.
That's a great way to just kind of like clear your mind. Like you go out, you spend some time with friends. Maybe you go alone. You get your body some exercise, but you have
that's
this is exercise, rowing the boat. Yep. But that way you have like fresh air. Really helps clear your mind, and people don't realize like just getting out of all the noise. Yeah, sometimes it's too much noise, too much stimulation between like colors, sounds, people, your environment, stress, whatever else people get overloaded.
So you need time to decompress, you know, almost like hitting a reset button.
Oh, yeah.
That's the way I see it. It's like, okay, I'm around this stuff all the time. Let me take some time for myself, you know, get a breath of fresh air and just kind of chill, you know, relax your brain, stop working so hard.
And that actually, I wasn't even planning on talking about this one, but that makes me think of another one of my methods that I like to use. It's really good for people who have control over their dream state or when they fall asleep, if you're a lucid dreamer, anything like that. When I'm writing, if I get stuck and I have really bad writer's block, I lay down in a super just like comfortable position, and I try to just like close my eyes and think about the story and like try to visualize it and picture what's going on in every detail, and then I connect it with the what's happening next method. And it kind of, because you're falling asleep, your brain almost starts to paint the picture for you, and you can, sometimes I'll dream about it. It doesn't always work, but sometimes I'll start to like enter that little realm between, you know, as you're falling asleep and you just have that last bit of like cognitive control. I use that a lot to write, like, creatively, obviously. If you're writing, like, a paper for school, it might not work as well. You have some
Where are your sources on this? This is wild.
trippy dreams, Abraham Lincoln in your brain. It's like, write the paper.
Write the paper. 4 score.
7 dinosaurs ago. Yeah.
No, that's a good way to think about it. I never really thought of using, like, lucid dreaming or dream state stuff to kind of like break the creative writing barrier for writer's block.
It's good if you have like a lot of imagery, if you have a really like just creative thoughts anyways, if you like art and stuff, you look at a lot of colors or shapes, because then it helps build the different, even if you just get blurry pictures of what you want to happen next or colors of what you want to happen next, that can kind of lead you to like, okay, what do those colors mean? I know it's a little bit weird, but I like to think about it.
Works,
yeah, I like to think
I've
about it.
I've definitely heard of weirder stuff than that, but you know, another method I use is you know, you told me one time to keep writing, you know, just keep writing for like 2 minutes and not really making sense of it, and sometimes I feel like that works. But another thing I do is I'll say like lines, just random lines, and I'll write like one line at a time. Like it won't be connected at all. I'll just like, oh, I like the way this sounds. I like the way this sounds.
I do that, and I literally will separate it. Like I'll like make a line and be like, okay, this is its own thing because I like how that sounds. And then if I can't think of the next thing, or even if I do, I'll write like the next chunk. I like to do that, but then I'll count the words too. I know a lot of people are really. So many people I know are like, don't focus on the word count.
Words?
So I literally sit there and I'll write a whole sentence or write a whole paragraph, and I break down my stories into word counts because it helps me, as weird as it is, the organization of it helps me think like creatively. It helps me to do that, to keep going, because then I'm like, okay, I just need this many more words till this part of the idea is done. And then I have all the ideas and I just have to make them all connect. It's so fragmented.
I've never heard
it's
that.
So fragmented, but I love it because then I sit there and I know I'm still writing like enough, and I go back through and maybe it's not so great, and I'm like, oh, maybe these words aren't the right words I want to use, but I like the idea that's going on.
Yeah.
So then you can reshape it once you have the idea, but that's where that just keep writing one comes in handy. And so that's what he's talking about, that I had mentioned before, was when I was in middle school, I had a teacher in English who taught us this thing where you just keep writing. You have like a timer. I like to do it for 5 minutes. We used to only do it for 2 minutes. So if that's, 5 minutes is too long, feel free to only do it for 2 minutes. But it's to help get your juices flowing. You literally just put on a timer, set it for however long you want, and no matter what, you don't stop writing. The whole time you write. So even if you sit there and you write, okay, the dog ran down the street, okay, he was fast. You just keep writing no matter what you're saying. And then at the end of it, even if it's just all, garbage, maybe you have something in there that you can pick out, or you have different ideas, different perspectives. You're like, whoa, what have I been thinking about lately? You know, just that one's just a fun one anyways, to see what you come up with, honestly, whether it's poetry, nonsense.
Yeah, I've actually got an idea for like a movie out of doing that. Or like not a movie, but like this little mini series about like, as weird as it sounds, it's like these magic elevators that like
Okay.
they're all
I dig
connected
it.
to like different elevators in the
No, I
world.
dig
It's
it.
so weird. I was like, where did I even come up with this?
That's pretty cool. I was doing
I was
that
like,
the
"Yeah,
other night.
whatever."
The other night I was doing the thing where I know some people do this, they keep a notebook by their bed.
Yeah, and they
And
wake
so
up.
if you're like sitting there and you're falling asleep again, or if you're waking up maybe in the middle of the night, just write down
Yeah.
random notes. I was doing that the other night. I've
Especially
never
straight
done that.
from
I
a
was doing
dream,
that. Yeah.
you know?
Write down some crazy stuff though. I was writing some really ridiculous, just funny stuff the other night. I know I have a show in mind as well now because of that. I won't get into too much detail, but it's a show that I hope to get going in the future. Yeah. So let's see. Trying to think with the word count thing. What I'll do is I like to take. Say I want to write like a small book. There's different levels of books, obviously. You know, you can go and find a book that's like 500 pages. It's a novel. Or you can find like some of the smaller novellas. I've learned that there's even a novelette, which is like even tinier. It's like 10,000 words. I wrote one of those. I wrote like a little 10,000 word book, but I broke it down. I said, all right, 10,000 words, 1,000 words a chapter. Do 10 chapters. Which is short. That's a short. It's like less than 90 pages. I think it's like 86 pages is how long it ended up being. And that's like you know, in book size. That's not in like, you know, computer paper letter print size. That's like little book size. But then I made it like 1,000 words for each chapter, and I'll be like, okay, what's happening in this chapter, and like literally break down the whole story, almost like a timeline. That was one of the other ones I was going to say was I like to timeline my stories.
Synopsis too for it, so like your idea is a lot easier to visualize as you're trying to fit it into however much you're trying to get it. You know, that 1,000 words.
Yeah. Well, visualizing is a good word for it, because when you literally put it on a timeline, like if you write it down on a timeline, that's a great way. Like, okay, what happens? Okay, what's gotta happen for this event to happen? You can skip around on your timeline, but it's easier to make sure your story makes sense when you look at it from that point of view. There was another one with the timeline, but I can't remember what it was. Brainstorming. Clouds.
Yeah.
Like, you know how, like, I'm sure everyone's done this one at some point.
That's a great way to alleviate some writer's block is, you know, ideas.
Just literally sit there. Ideas.
Hit this, that. It may not all be good, but at least, you know, you got something to work with.
Shuffle it around. Figure out what you like, what you don't like. But we would draw, like, I still do it. I put the little circle with the title.
Oh, yeah.
And then you just sit there, little line to the next circle.
I haven't done that in...
Next
Since
circle.
I was in school.
That's like my favorite thing to do, because I just sit there and I'm like, what do I got going on? Because you can write, there's a bubble for anything, you know, like it's idea bubble over here, idea bubble over here. Oh, these ones connect. This connects to that. I really like, I don't know, I like the structure of it, as weird as it is. I love creative writing is like almost all I do. I'm getting better at school writing, which is different. There's a lot of like
a lot more structure.
A lot of like quotation sandwiches and things like that, where you have to like layer things, like you said, more structure.
So, besides actually have like actual ideas, what do you think are good alternatives to writer's block if you don't like, you're like, oh, I don't really want to do any of those things? What do you think could be a good substitute?
Well, I think a good substitute is kind of like how we started talking about do something different. Maybe people don't know, what does that mean? You know, okay, well, what am I going to do?
Say they don't know where to start. Where would you point them?
Yeah, honestly, I think a great one to just get it, like, so you have a break from what you're doing that's still healthy, is anything exercise related. If you go for a walk, you just go work out, you go for a run, go for a hike, swim. I know it's finally getting warmer here, you know, but anything that just gives your body, because when you get writer's block, you stress, there's a lot of stress that people go through most of the time. They try to keep writing, and they just keep hitting that wall. And then you get more stressed because you're like, oh, I just need to write.
Right.
So then your body starts to get stressed. So it's honestly good to take that full little bit of a break and go eat something, go get some water. Like...
So basically, be a human being. Diet and exercise could have a factor. You know, good night's rest could have a factor. You know, resetting yourself physically and mentally could all be deterrents of your writer's block.
Yeah. And speaking of that, like, I know we're getting into the whole taking a break, but before we jump back into that, research is one of the things, like, any kind of research, whether it's field research, like where you go out and you're in the environment, like obviously, yeah, I suggest it's a safe environment if you're writing whatever you're writing, you know, don't
There's
try
nothing
to...
out in this field.
don't be trying to get murked out. Yeah, like, no, but... if you're writing about something, it never hurts to do research, because the more detail you write about something, the more in depth your reader is going to understand it. They can relate more the more that you talk about the one thing. So if you're writing a story about, you know, a hoverboard in some utopian city or something, maybe look up some things about technology or how vehicles work or how, you know, cities work or roads or anything. Like, literally think of any kind of detail that could be involved in your story and do some research about it. But back to
Yeah. Research is good. Yeah. You know, especially if you have those ideas, those little brainstorming ideas you had talked about, you know, researching, like, oh, what exactly can I get from this? Like, say you have an idea about, like, an animal, like, oh, like a wolf, and do some research about wolves, like, learn about them, you know, put yourself in the perspective of, like, a wolf and kind of, like, take that into your writer's block and see if you can't come up with something different.
Knowledge is power.
It really is.
It really is.
It really is.
And that's what they tell you. They say, write what you know. So if you're trying to write about something that you have no idea about, it's a good idea to kind of look into it.
It's
just
gonna
a
be
little
hard.
bit. It's gonna be hard.
It's gonna be hard.
Yeah, that's...
You'll come up with a hard time.
to sum it up, it's a lot easier. Even if you're like, oh, I don't want to put in that effort, it's more effort not doing your research than it is to just take, literally, you have a phone, I guarantee it. Just look at your phone, use your Google search or whatever search you got, look up something, and just read a quick article. 5 minutes, you'll be set.
5 minutes, that's it?
5 minutes, you'll be a fucking expert.
You'll be an expert.
You'll be an expert.
Be gold everywhere.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, definitely okay to take breaks, no matter how long. Like, I take weeks at a time sometimes, and one day I'll just be like, oh my god, I figured something out. Even if it's this little thing, it's still an idea. And I've surprised myself on more than one occasion with, like, just a couple lines, and I'll just be like, yeah, I'll put that out there. Like, I didn't feel, you know, amazing about it. It's like I got something out, and then it turns out to be way more responsive to my audience than I would have really imagined.
Right.
So, you know, take your chances on some stuff that you got cooking up in the back. You know, you don't really know how you feel about it. You know, get a second opinion. Don't think too much about it.
Second opinion is a good one too.
Yeah.
Talk to people about your ideas.
Yeah.
You know, obviously be careful. Don't oversell your ideas, because I know people sometimes take people's ideas, but but also just, it's okay to talk to your friends, your family, you know, people you trust about, like, the things you're writing about. I also just wanted to throw in that quick last, don't throw your work out. If you are typing, wait till the end to get rid of stuff you don't like. Yeah, no, I know. You're probably known for that. Don't get rid of it.
I'm the worst with this.
We'll have to do a second one, but that's all the time we have for now. What a great way to end it. So we hope we see you again on our next Studio 20, which will be on, you guessed it, the 20th.
Oh my god. Could you believe it? Did you have any idea? You didn't.
Have a good night, guys. Thanks for watching.